Why do you think it's necessary for something like this to happen in our country?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I have started any movement. Even if you talk to independent producers, na Rohini, these days they've started saying, "Sir, recovery ही नहीं हो रही है. Recover हो जाए तो हम करते रहें." Currently the big film that is playing at the box office has some close to 4,000 screens compared to 9 screens for Agra.
It's not about Agra anymore. It is a bigger picture which has been happening for a very long time.
None of the sex scenes that we shot in Agra or in Dispatch, not once did we say we talk about those scenes as sex scene. मैं वो सच ढूंढ रहा हूँ और जहां वो सच सबसे ज्यादा मिलता है आप बोल रहे हो वहां मत जाओ. क्यों मत जाओ? क्यों ना जाओ? Over these 9 years of trying to make Agra and get it to the Indian audiences, I have learnt everything. I'm being completely honest. I don't want to be a part of this conversation. Kind of when this happened, spontaneously spoke out on Twitter and then reached out to a few people, and everybody immediately said, let's.
Yesterday, 46 filmmakers came together to sign a petition. Now, this is for demands for equal and fair distribution for the independent film industry. It's a movement, and I might just be sitting at the epicenter of it one day after. I'm at Kanu Behl's residence, and I'm joined by Kanu and actor Priyanka Bose. Their film Agra released just 3 days ago in cinemas, but has it truly released? We're going to find out. Thank you so much, guys, for giving me time today. And Kanu, I'm going to start with you, of course. You have started a movement. So, first of all, I don't know what to say. Should I say congratulations? Should I say well done? Because, see, earlier I had planned, we were supposed to speak anyway. Yeah. But 3 days ago, when I reached out for this interview, it was going to be about the film only. But now this film is suddenly representing an entire community of filmmakers. So, first of all, why do you think it's necessary for something like this to happen in our country? Let's start with that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, first things first, I don't think I have started any movement or this movement is only about Agra or about me personally. I think this was something that was simmering anyway for a long time. In some of my interviews, even as far back as a month back, I had already said that I'm hearing multiple voices of dissent right now in closed rooms, but in groups now.
Yeah.
I had started getting a feeling that some filmmakers were already starting to get together and talk about the state of things as they were.
Yeah.
And I had a feeling that this was going to explode in some way. I had not even the wildest idea that it will be on the back of Agra.
Yeah.
I guess because I'd been having those conversations and because I knew how terrible the state was for everybody, I kind of, when this happened, spontaneously spoke out on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then reached out to a few people who I had had these conversations with. And everybody immediately said, let's come together. It's high time. We need to speak about this. So I think Agra probably has become the tipping point for this whole conversation. But really, it's we've seen how things have been going downhill for, I would say, close to 3 years now within the industry.
100%. The film, of course, I watched the film at Mami 2 years ago. I watched Dispatch last year, and it's crazy how a film that, should have released earlier. So I'm going to start with that. Does it mean that every independent film takes that long to hit a cinema? Which is the regular paying audience, not the festival audience. Is that the regular shelf life of this, how this is supposed to go?
It shouldn't be. There is no need for this sort of delay, but unfortunately it is. I mean, we do have an example of, let's say, Homebound, which came out pretty quickly after Cannes. So there is no other issue for a film that it's dealing with which warrants such a long delay.
Correct.
It's just that systematically, structurally, there is no support for a film to be able to find some sort of immediate distribution after that initial journey is done. For example, in Europe, in a lot of places, like in France, if you're at Cannes will not take you until and unless the producer signs an undertaking that the film at Cannes will release in France theatrically within a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So now there are these kind of examples, and this is not just France, across Europe, because there is state investment in the cultural landscape, right? They are very, very invested in not just their premium film festival, but also in making sure that the films that the festival backs are seen by the domestic audiences.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
so there is no reason for this sort of a delay. Yeah, I think it's just the numerous roadblocks that filmmakers end up sort of facing, which lands us here.
And you still do it. So thank you for that. This is the craziest thing about this, right? That we still strive, we still make these movies. And I'm going to come back to the petition. But before that, I just want to take the same question to you, Priyanka. As an actor who works in so many films, internationally you worked, in our scape as well. The same thing, like what does an actor feel? Because I think one of your finest performances that I have seen was in Agra. And I rewatched the film yesterday and I just felt that there was something you brought to that performance. So long it takes for the actual audience to see it. What does that do to an actor?
I mean, see, actors like me are dying for opportunities, isn't it? Like, we want an opportunity to not only explore our own limitations, but also to be able to collaborate with a person who's willing to take you there, like,
Yeah.
And willing to, really give you that space to explore yourself and challenge yourself in that way. And then world building, right? So in our imagination or in a drama school and all the stuff that I've done over the years, and I feel like experience brings you an opportunity like this. Everything is an opportunity. Meaningful cinema kar lo ya jo bhi OTT mein sab meaningful hai hamare liye. An actor like me, everything is meaningful. You get an opportunity to act, you act.
Yeah.
And that's what you do, and you show up on time. And you can't betray yourself or the people that is forming the ecosystem. Everyone is an employed person making a film, whether it's a small film according to you or a blockbuster according to whoever. That is not up to
A
me.
criteria.
Yeah, not
Absolutely.
at all. And I'm getting to get up and work, and that's what I'm going with. Essentially, yes, it just so. I mean, of course, it's disheartening. You want everyone to watch your film. You want everyone to have that camaraderie, saying that, and then you want people to stop stereotyping you in anything, saying that she actually has a range of things that we haven't even seen.
Correct.
But you cannot deny the presence. You cannot deny the fact that I have been doing a lot of stuff which didn't and the thing is, the smart thing to do is that actors are actually that way smart. Writers still have material. Actors have nothing. Essentially, they are only dependent on who will take them, and what I make of it is actually on me. So I have with the 10 things which have been subpar, the 5 things I can say, man, Agra is one of them for sure.
For sure.
I really enjoyed doing it. I mean, he gave me full control and agency over my body and my craft and my process and everything, and there was no interference. So it was like child's play. And right now, with the whole distribution and marketing, and that's what we were discussing, that this is something, as an actor or someone who is as responsible as everyone else, this affects everyone, and it should. Because if we are not revolutionizing the times, then I don't know what we are doing. And the complacency of it really kills me. And I feel like even if it's a wildfire and everything, I just hope there is action behind it. It's just not something that will die out. Like he said, it's not about Agra anymore. It is a bigger picture which has been happening for a very long time.
I mean,
people like me shouldn't question why they shouldn't do another film like Agra. Whether the process you enjoy or not, or this filmmaking, that's a different matter altogether. But however, no one, everyone should have that structural support. Every film matters in that way.
I mean, we've heard too many voices now in the recent past, and we've seen too many examples right in front of us, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's Joram or Jugnuma or Humans in the Loop or Savarmanda or Homebound, a slew of these films, great films, all we imagine as like, all of these films coming and not finding enough screens back home.
Yeah.
Essentially, all of us filmmakers are making these films for domestic audiences. हमें थोड़ा ना फेस्टिवल जाना है. We are, if there is a sustainable system here for our kind of cinema, who cares about an international festival? That becomes a part of the journey, because eventually you have no other firepower in the sense that traditional firepower. आपके पास marketing money नहीं है, आपके पास ये नहीं है, आपके पास वो नहीं है. So you have the need to make your film feel bigger. That's why you need to travel that journey.
Absolutely.
But if there is a working system here, why it would be a completely different system.
And that's so true, because the reason why I watched it on a screener is because of the inconvenient show times. मैं नौकरी पेशा हूँ, even though we work in the industry or whatever. The truth is, I'm also a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 6 or a 9 to 9er, to be honest, on most days. Which means that if I need to watch a film, I need to literally look at a night show, or I need to look at a weekend. And more often than not, the weekends really don't allow us to do that, because the deal is that there is no option. I read a beautiful article that the Hollywood Reporter just did, Sheila Aditya Bora. He put down some numbers, and I think numbers make it really easy for the common man to understand. Okay, he just broke it down. He said that suppose if a film is made in 3 crores, which could be like an indie film budget, you need at least 1 lakh people to watch the film in your own country. And I thought that, oh, that makes it so simple. And in the light of what happened, over the last 24 hours, I said, man, 1 lakh log nahi ja sakte in show timings pe, which I think is bare minimum.
Yeah.
For things to become a hit is another step altogether. So are you agreeable to this math? Do you also look at math this way? What is your concern when you are raising this point? Is it the economics of it? Is it so that the film gets more money? Or is it because you want more people to see it? I know it's the same, but what is more important to you?
To be honest, really, I'm being completely honest.
Please?
I don't want to be a part of this conversation at the end of the day. I am having to have this conversation. I'm a filmmaker. I make films.
Yeah.
It should not be my job to be talking about distribution and how many screens and where. So over these 9 years of trying to make Agra and get it to the Indian audiences, I have learnt everything part of the process, because फिल्ममेकर होने के हिंदुस्तान में फिल्ममेकर होने के लिए आपको प्रोड्यूसिंग भी सीखनी पड़ेगी, आपको बजटिंग भी सीखनी पड़ेगी, ये भी सीखना पड़ेगा. अब लास्ट में आके मैंने बोला, अच्छा ठीक है, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी सीखना मुझे ही है, मुझे ही करना है, तो वो भी कर लेते हैं. Let's fight that fight. So first of all, I want a system to exist where I don't have to look at this. I'm doing my part of the job, and as I said, the government or the system steps in. There are structural reforms, and there's a minimum guarantee to an independent film. We define an independent film. What is an independent film?
Yes.
Once that definition is there, you need to have protection for a certain kind of cinema. It cannot be a free-for-all. It cannot be a free market kind of situation, because the big players are way too big. They are going to eat. I mean, imagine for currently the big film that is playing at the box office has some close to 4,000 screens compared to 9 screens for Agra at PVR. So,
where's the math?
It's not even a competition.
Yeah.
And if you call them and if you ask for more screens saying, but it's just 9 and these 9 screens are peripheral or the show timings are not right, they will turn around to you and say, oh, but these are well-performing screens. We've given you really interesting select screens and, they perform for us. So why don't you perform and show us? If the people are coming and if it's filling up, then we'll increase it. So these are the kind of answers you get from them. So, which is absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
You turn around and say, but it's almost like the system being rigged against you. So
100%.
What we want is, we are already in the process of doing this. We are in the process of forming a body now, which will officially represent us and go ahead and start talking to all the interested parties, whether it's the Producers Guild, whether it's the distributors and exhibitors, whether it's the Ministry of INB. We will have to make a bigger effort. And so essentially what we are looking for is define an indie film, and then an independent cinema needs to have a structure around it, protections built in around it, some sort of subsidization around it. If we are not able to find a sustainable system for the producers to be able to recover what little money they are putting into the film. And here, even if you talk to independent producers, na Rohini, these days they've started saying, sir, recovery ही नहीं हो रही है, recover हो जाए तो हम करते रहें.
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
And India has such a long and great tradition and passion for filmmaking. There is no lack of producers. You know, we can have 5 producers tomorrow who will want to fund. But if they don't have a recovery model that they see, why would they go ahead and do it, right? So it's literally the system is broken, and that is the reform that is needed.
Two things. One thing that you said is just like, I never thought about it before. In other countries, I'm so aware that the French or the Germans or, anywhere else you go, they have film grants, right? जिसकी वजह से हमारे पास भी film grant है. But the minute a government steps in and tells you that, I'm going to help you make your film, but you help me with my agenda, how are you going to battle something like that?
As I said, I am a filmmaker. My job is to make a film. देखिए, political तो हर film होती है, चाहे उसमें overt politics हो या ना हो.
बिल्कुल.
Agra in its own way has its politics already to see within the film, right? So this is now a very tricky territory, because what is an agenda? What are you really calling an agenda? Is the politics that is already present in Agra an agenda? Or is the government or what they will say an agenda? I don't know what that agenda is. One can only say that, personally, I can only speak for myself in this sort of a situation. One wants to be true to the film you're making and the politics within that film, right? Other than that, आप मेरे जैसे आदमी को और कुछ बनाने को भी बोल दोगे, मैं लास्ट में बना के वही आऊंगा जो मुझे बनाना है, तो कुछ फायदा नहीं होगा बोलने से.
नहीं, मैं कह रही हूँ कि इंडिपेंडेंट सिनेमा की यही तो खासियत रही है हमेशा से, that it has constantly shown a very, very unforgiving mirror to society, and I feel like that's why we seek festivals, right? And that is us. But I'm saying, what if this cinema, and which is crazy because I have never looked at it as different, right? But I'm saying, for the benefit of the regular audience, if I say कि this cinema needs to interface more with the guy who's going to buy the ticket for the jumbo, whatever film which is opening on Diwali, because that interface is going to be so interesting. It's going to throw ideas. It's going to also sometimes just show a mirror, because I feel like even with Agra, I just felt that without a shot of Taj Mahal, you showed me a city that I would have never seen in such close quarters. I want to go back into the film now, because it has affected me deeply. It has affected me so deeply, because I just feel, Kanu, that you took us into spaces that, okay, let me just say it. We are often given the hard end of the stick, saying that you will never get it, what it's like with your privilege and your life, to understand the lives of those who are not as privileged as you. How did you do it?
So I think I have been fortunate enough to have grown up and existed somewhere on the periphery, where I had a little bit of privilege also, in the sense that I saw all of these spaces really, really closely while growing up. And even now, a lot of my extended family inhabits, space, some of the spaces that you see in the film. Even in Titli, there were 2-3 houses which were my own family houses that I shot in. तो वो था, वो एक तरफ से वो था, और दूसरी तरफ से थोड़ा प्रिविलेज भी था कि मेरे पेरेंट्स शायद थोड़ा सा उठ गए या थोड़ा सा ज्यादा अर्न कर पाए. तो we had a house in Patparganj also, a small house in Patparganj where I had half a room of my own. So I think I have been lucky to grow up on that border, where I was seeing this also very closely, and I was seeing that also very closely, and perhaps I was taught very well by my parents to not take that privilege for granted, and try to be a voice for, I hate to use that word because it feels like one is looking down on them, but in a sense, the marginalized. Try to be a voice for, let's say, try to be a voice for the people who are not often spoken about rather than saying marginalized.
Absolutely.
So
Unseen and unheard.
that has been the attempt. That is what I've always tried to do with my films, with my characters. I've always tried to pick up characters that might be difficult, but once you go on the journey with them, you not only are hopefully able to empathize with them, but also understand the complex nature of the larger matrix that they inhabit. So that's what where I've tried to play.
And your film currently, while it's in cinemas, is carrying an A certificate, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we can get into the rest of this conversation, which is that how do you get your actors to be so unaware of the camera? And how do you get them to give us such visceral performances? Oh my God, I'm so glad, Priyanka, you're here for this, because he might just say it's all the actor. Or you might just say it's all Kanu. But between the two of you, please tell me how you figure a scene. How do you do it?
Okay, so I'll tell you my process. See, the thing is, the issue that I face with everybody in a way is communication. And a director's communication
In real life?
In just the director's communication is sometimes they are so reluctant themselves and shy or whatever that is. So I feel like I just need to be really alert at that time to really absorb what is he trying to say.
Yes.
You
Okay.
know?
Okay.
What is he trying to say, not what he is saying at all, right? And once you understand, I don't even have to understand the film because I know what the community is or what the gaze is and everything. It's just that I have to now balance, because you would think I'm very cosmopolitan in that way. In my upbringing has been very middle class and very very simple and everything, but still I have had access to, say, the knowledge that I seek, the filmmakers that I seek, the love for their craft and everything. So I've always been very curious about that, and my curiosity also got to Kanu, and I'm like, I want to understand how he is seeing the film, and these performances is not what I'm fan of. I'm fan of the visceral quality that I want to bring in to that. So it becomes a very selfish kind of narrative, but that's it. I have to find a common thread between me and this Preeti, who's also me. And when he is trying to tell me about sexuality, and we are not even getting into misogyny, we're not even getting into the intellectual, like, whatever. I just need to know her in my bones, like. And for me, that's a very personal kind of a subconscious kind of understanding of what craft is or character is. For me, it's like it needs to completely seep in, where there is no personality left of my cosmopolitan
Self.
seek
Yeah.
or self,
Yeah.
or how I carry
Of
myself
course.
as myself. And that, for me, that journey is very interesting for me. So I feel like there's I mean, of course, Preeti comes in a certain time, so the whole vibe of the film changes in a way. So I knew that, and I understood that, not that he had to explain it to me. So I feel like you just need to be very alert at that time, saying that, okay, what is he trying to say at this time, because it's already written, but what you're exploring in the room is completely different, very different. What we rehearsed in this room, he would call me, he'll just call out saying that that choice is very banal, but it's the same choice. Because he needs to.
So just to add to that, I would say the design of the process of prepping for the film, not just with the actors, but also with the key crew. When we work with the DP and the production designer, after a point, they're in the workshop watching the actors also perform, because they are also becoming a part of the grain of the film, which is essentially that, it's another thing to play with the performances at the story or the dialogue or the scene level. It's another whole thing if you're trying to achieve what you're really looking for is a sense of time and a sense of space, and a context. For me, performances don't exist in the foreground. And hence, I think all of that prep is really about knowing as much around the script as possible, so that you've lived the life of your character as much as possible. You know, as Priyanka was saying, you know them in your bones. You know how they walk. You know what is the extent of the limb that Preeti has? What is the lilt of the limb? Why is the lilt of the limb that you have? What are the shoes? I mean, I'm talking about banal things, sorry.
No,
But
these
essentially
are
you're saying
layers, you know.
you are
and-
working
yeah.
around the script and not on the dialogue, not on the scene. One of my mentors also told me, I mean, it has stuck with me over the years, that the script is actually, your script is not on the black on the page, it's on the white. The film doesn't lie on the black, it lies on the white.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
of
always
course,
try
yeah.
to interpret the film in the spaces between the dialogue, in the reactions, in the rhythm of movement of people, their looks, their stares at each other, because that is where most of us reveal our everyday lives, right? We hardly mean what we say usually, but we say so much, but without saying what we are saying. So that is
Same,
what
yeah.
one tries to achieve.
I want to ask you, both of you, that there needs to be a certain sense of security for actors, and you need to provide that to actors, especially during an intimate scene. And I want to say this, that the way to say it in our country is usually कि Kanu Behl की film में bold scenes होते हैं, and I've heard that. I'm sure you heard it too. We've heard it in different contexts, but for me, that's not what I want to talk about. What I want to say is that you are not shy from actually giving us an extended time period between two characters who are truly their most naked, intimate selves. And that to me is in itself very revolutionary today. And I don't know why I say that. It's just that sex has left our movies.
So I want to clarify this a bit.
Yes.
फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल मैं ये बोलना चाहता हूं कि हर कोई फिल्म देखने के लिए तैयार नहीं होता, एंड आई एम टोटली फाइन विद दैट. व्हाई एम आई सेइंग दिस? नन ऑफ द सेक्स सीन्स दैट वी शॉट इन आगरा और इन डिस्पैच, तितली में भी शायद थोड़ा बहुत है एक दो, बट none of those moments when we were ever discussing about performing them, not once did we say we talk about those scenes as sex scenes.
Not at all.
They are not sex scenes for us or for anyone who worked on the film. They were not sex scenes. एक एक्टर एक अलग सीन में चिकन खाता है, किसी सीन में पानी पी लेता है, किसी सीन में कुछ लिख रहा होता है, किसी सीन में सोफा उठा के इधर से उधर ले जा रहा होता है, किसी सीन में सेक्स कर रहा होता है, राइट? इट्स बिजनेस. It totally depends on the audience's gaze of how they want to look at that scene. What we can guarantee you as people who worked on these films is that we have not shot it for the sex. It's another act that's happening. And now, why are these scenes important for me? I feel like in our most intimate moments with another human being, where we are not just physically naked, we are emotionally naked, there is the maximum amount of truth to be mined for me as a filmmaker in the service of the audience. मैं ऑडियंस के लिए ही वो सच ढूंढ रहा हूं. मैं ऑडियंस को ही उतना रिस्पेक्ट करता हूं, उनके 200 रुपए को और 2 घंटे को उतना रिस्पेक्ट करता हूं कि मैं बोलता हूं भाई आप आ रहे हो, आप थोड़ा सच देख के जाना. अगर आपको नहीं चाहिए वो सच तो मुझे बता दो, मैं छोड़ दूंगा, बट मैं वो सच ढूंढ रहा हूं. और जहां वो सच सबसे ज्यादा मिलता है, आप बोल रहे हो वहां मत जाओ. क्यों मत जाओ? क्यों ना जाओ? मुझे तो सच पता करना है ना, आप ही के लिए पता करना है, तो मैं वो कर रहा हूं, पता कर रहा हूं. उन्हीं मोमेंट्स में वो पता चलता है. दैट इज व्हेन यू रियली नो whether someone is looking into the other person's eyes or avoiding the other person. Like we found such a beautiful moment in the second last scene in Agra, where Guru and Preeti are having sex after the house has been made. There's such a beautiful moment that I felt, which was spontaneous when we were shooting it, which Guru covers Preeti's face with a pillow. Right? They are having sex. He's trying to look at her, can't quite look at her, and he ends up putting the pillow on her face. And then they come together. I found that to be such a revelatory moment in the film. But अगर आपको वो उस गेज से ही सिर्फ देखना है, and you are not ready to go there. So as I also, once a film goes out of your hands, it becomes the audience's film. Then it's many films. So I'm totally fine with this. There is someone whose film it will be who will say, ये क्या है? Cool, no worries.
My question was actually something different, but thank you for this.
Sure.
My question was, how do you, allow actors to feel safe, okay, in environments which require them to be their most naked and vulnerable? And I say, in terms of performance, because I feel like they can only abandon if they know that they're feeling okay. So what are your sort of
मुझे जरूरत
guardrails?
नहीं पड़ती है because it's a very simple thing. It is about trust. If you have an actor's trust right in the big, and that comes pretty much in the beginning, either around the time she'll tell you better, but either around the time for me that where they choose to sign up for something like this, let's say in the case of Agra, where you made that choice, or in the first month of prep with them, first month of workshop, you have to gain. If you sense that, they're here, but they still don't quite know your process, okay, fine, they've seen your past work, but they still feel like, idhar kya hone wala hai, then you gain that trust, and that's really the job. Once that's the first thing you need from an actor. They trust you. They should know that they are not in the wrong hands. They won't be exploited. None of this material is titillatory, or what is being attempted is titillatory. Once you have that trust, then it's easy. Then it's, everybody is working on the same film together. There is no hierarchy or power or anything like that at play.
I really think that we have lost the power to be intimate on a screen. And I don't know how else to say it. When I watched Agra, it just made me remember what it's like to watch it on the screen again. And that's kudos to you, because I just feel like we've become more regressive as a country in our storytelling. We've become we've become shy for ourselves. We are okay with legs dangling on posters which are suggestive. So I don't know how to say it, but the suggestiveness has gotten so crass. You know what
And
I'm
we are
saying?
also okay with
The
midriffs
language.
and belly buttons, and
Yes,
as long as it's in item songs.
Exactly.
I just find that really
We
absurd.
become crude by covering up, or we become crude by not showing. So when I saw it, when I came face to face with it, I was just like, oh, you know what? This is how we look.
Can I say that I just want to add, absolutely agree with what you're saying. I just want to add that I think it's more that the times that we live in today now, we as a whole are okay with watching advertising in a sense and accepting it. So most of the cinema that we see today is actually advertising. And in a sense, the audiences subliminally have accepted that we are going to watch advertising because it's not cinema. It's not film at all. It's an extended ad. It's an extended lifestyle ad. And the audiences have accepted that. कि हम lifestyle देखने जा रहे हैं, इससे सीख के हमको जो इसमें से अच्छा लगे वो adopt करना है. So it is actually reduced to that. That is the hopelessness that you feel in the audiences also, because there is nothing else to take from most of it. And I'm not saying all of it is it. Of course, there are exceptions, but most of it, that's the hopelessness that you sense. That's the reason why the footfalls are reducing, because the audience also knows कि 2 घंटे का ad है,
No investment.
आज मूड नहीं है, अब 2 घंटे का ad
देखने का.
Yeah.
A low investment.
Yeah.
So that's why they're like, even if you don't engage, अगर ये film ना भी देखे तो क्या? There are two scenes that truly, shine for me in Agra. The first is when the two ladies go to the third lady and to talk about the man. Casting choices. Of course, Priyanka is right here. So this is obviously you've struck gold with all of your actors. But I truly feel that just casting Rahul Roy as the Uncle Romeo is the best casting choice ever. He was so good. And can I just go back to that casting choice, how that happened? And you don't have to talk to us about that scene because I don't want to give spoilers. But was that a scene also for you that you were excited about?
So Rahul actually pretty much walked into the film himself, in the sense that he was there. He was at the workshop while we were all workshopping, and so usually क्या होता है, for all the parts I have multiple choices floating around in the first month before we've decided. Also because it gives, it is a very quick way for me to ego check So first of all, Rahul agreeing to do the workshop with his body of work, with his experience, everything that he comes with, when he knew there were two other potential daddies floating around, that was a huge check for me immediately. I was like, okay, this man is not bringing in anything else except for himself. He is not saying मैं ये हूँ, मैं हूँ, वो कुछ नहीं था. So that became a huge plus. And then we were working. I think it took him a while to understand the texture of the performances and our style and how we like to, train our actors in the sense that you're trying to, what I spoke about, you're trying to get them into time and space. So, wo karte, I mean, also the fact that he used to be the first one to come to the workshop every day and the last one to leave. She'll vouch for it. Every day, that man was the first man and the last man. And this was going on. So I was already like, man, this guy is so committed to doing this. And then one of these days, everybody had left. I remember we were sitting having chai together. उधर एक बरगद का पेड़ था हमारे उसमें, तो पेड़ के नीचे हम बैठे हुए थे. And there was a little silence, and then he turned around to me and he said, I want to tell you something. I was like, yeah. So he was like, ये पिक्चर मैं ही करूँगा और कोई नहीं करेगा. So that's what I'm saying. That's how Rahul actually walked himself into the film. Once I heard that, I was like, he is doing what he's supposed to do, and he's so committed and he's so excited about this that he is the right choice.
Oh, otherwise you're saying that they would come for the workshops as part of a couple of people, or it could be understudies or whatever. Is that correct?
No, it's not really an understudy kind of environment, and it's only for the first 2-3 weeks of the workshop.
Oh, then you could have multiple people workshopping together.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But it is for me more. It's not a statement on the actor's talent or the actor's ability. All of those three options will be equally good. But sometimes when you're building a family, you're also seeing who's vibing with who. There are many factors at play, right? So, for example, Guru, I had 3 really strong options for Guru. But there was something else that led to the eventual choice of Guru in the film. Apart from Mohit's amazing acting ability. In fact, she was the only one who I wrote the part for. इस लिखते हुए मुझे पता था कि प्रीति में मैं इसी के पास जाऊंगा पहले. फिर भी हमने टेस्ट किया 2-3 और लोगों को.
Yeah, because at the same time, like, you have to understand a process like this, like, you have to understand, like, Rahul Roy ji may have given the commitment of the time, but I'm also driving my child to school, so that commitment of the time was also a little bit of like a give and take for me and things like that. And I'm like, it's great, like, can we work together knowing that this is going to be my priority in a way like that? So
don't worry, we're in a year where that's the only thing being discussed with female actors and
yes,
priorities.
exactly, it is true, because I feel like filmmakers and producers should understand with female actors that हमको, I mean, again, generalization की बात नहीं है, सबका अलग अलग होता है, but there are responsibilities we have to take care of, and it's just something, I mean, this has always been a part of my family, has always been a part of my filmmaking. If this wasn't there, then I wouldn't be the artist that I am today. It is absolutely, genuinely the truth.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
Kanu, I want to bring things to a close. I want to ask you that when I watched the film at the festival, I wanted to at that point itself ask you that what is the story really? Because ultimately I am left with images and empathy and a sense of something happened, right? I want to ask you the same question 2 years later, because I watched it again, and I want to ask you, when you set out to make this film, why did you want to tell this story?
I mean, what is the story of our lives? Can you tell me the story of your life? I can't tell you the story of my life. There is no story. There is no story to life. Yeah. It's, I think, one of the most misunderstood and I mean, it's just, we have our basics wrong. I don't think films are about stories or characters at all. Films are about time and space. Films are about being at a particular point, in a particular place, because films are essentially memory. And our memories are made, our memories are always moving memories. Kabhi bhi still memories nahi hoti hai. And they are always in a particular place. That's where actually cinema comes out of. तो मैं जब लिख रहा होता हूँ या बना रहा होता हूँ या कोई भी फिल्म कर रहा होता हूँ, आई एम लीस्ट बॉदर्ड अबाउट स्टोरी. व्हाट इज द स्टोरी ऑफ दिस? ऑफ कोर्स देयर इज अ स्टोरी, बट सब कुछ मुझे बोलने की क्या जरूरत है? आई एम ट्राइंग टू हैव अ कॉन्वर्सेशन विद द ऑडियंस. आई एम नॉट भगवान. I'm just a 45-year-old man who's made this film at this particular point of time with what I know right now. So I am leaving questions in there for you also to come and chat with me and have a conversation. I don't want to be on a pedestal like a Baba saying, आओ आज मैं तुम्हें बताता हूँ क्या कहानी है और लाइफ की क्या कहानी. मुझे नहीं पता. Let's have a chat. Let's have a conversation. मुझे आज इतना ये पता है जो मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ. थोड़ा आप भी सोचो, जाके वापस सोचो तो एटलीस्ट till you open the fridge back home and take out your lassi or beer or whatever you're having. Think about it a little bit. Don't I'm not supposed to tell you everything just purely because I don't know everything.
Sure. And why did you need to tandoori a squirrel?
वो ना थोड़ा
When did you
सा
first-
Why?
When did you first realize that a dead squirrel would have its, feet stuck out as like deer? That's my question, really.
वो थोड़ा सा इन्वोकेशन था बिकॉज मुझे पता था कि लोग कहाँ घुसने वाले हैं अभी इस फिल्म में. एंड आई रियली फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल वांटेड टू इन्वोक द स्पिरिट ऑफ भगवान एंड से गुरुजी अभी ले जा रहे हो इधर तो अच्छे रास्ते पे ले जाना, भटक ना जाए. एंड ऑल्सो इट वाज अ वार्निंग कि भाई दिस इज द काइंड ऑफ फिल्म यू आर गोइंग टू गेट इनटू. इफ यू आर नॉट रेडी, वॉक आउट नाउ. नहीं देखनी है तो मत देखो if you're not ready for this. But that whole first sequence was doing a dual thing for me there.
It truly did a dual thing for all of us, because I'll never forget that first shot, especially on the big screen, especially with all of those, those cuts with all that gooey stuff like on the screen, where you almost felt like, oh, and then at some point it stops also, and there's no real explanation for it. But I think that's the magic of it, right? That's why, and you keep it this way because, as you said, that's a film you made at that point, and that's what you strongly felt. I want to end this by saying, if you wouldn't have made this film, यार कुछ बात रह जाती, क्योंकि आपने बहुत सारी बातें इस फिल्म के थ्रू की है. I think we can talk reams, and people will talk to you about representation, mental health, masculinity, space, family, unkindness, and yet coming together for a common cause, and that big umbrella being sometimes just property or money. So those are that's a different conversation. But for today, I just want to say, I hope that Agra sees more screens and more people watch it. Thank you for putting up the good fight, and thank you for being part of a film like this. Like, I think I must say a thank you to the actors also, because even though you're not signing these petitions right now, your sheer presence, I think, allows these films to get made, Kanu. So thank you, both of you, for making this film.
Thank you for taking the
Thanks,
time.
really,
Thank you for having us.
Just